Dean Martin's bad side. Dean Martin was born Dino Paul Crocetti on June 7, 1917, but no one talks about it. Steubenville, Ohio. Dean Martin's parents came to the U.S. from Italy. His dad, Gaetano Croce, was a barber, while his mom, Angela Barra, stayed home to take care of the house. The Croce family spoke Italian as their primary language, and Dino didn't speak English well until he went to school. His immigrant childhood impacted how he saw the world and gave him the quiet confidence of an outsider that he later brought to his performances. He seemed at ease, but that calm was based on his ability to bounce back and adapt. Martin's early years were not at all glamorous. He dropped out of high school at 16 and worked a number of jobs that showed how hard life was in America during the Great Depression. He worked in a steel mill, at a petrol station, as a blackjack dealer in underground casinos, and even for a short time as an amateur boxer under the name Kid Croce. These things made him stronger and gave him a street-smart view of life that would later shape his on-stage character as a man who had seen life up close and decided to face it with a smile and a drink. Eventually, music led Martin to show business. He used the stage name Dean Martin after singers like Bing Crosby and started singing in nightclubs and on local radio. His soft, velvety voice, which was full of warmth and emotional understatement, set him apart from other singers. Right once, Martin didn't sing like a melodramatic vocalist. Instead, he sang like he was having a private discussion, calm but very expressive. This trait would become his trademark when Martin was teamed with Jerry Lewis in 1946. It was the most important moment in his career. They made up one of the most famous and successful comedic pairs in history. Martin played the good-looking straight man, and Lewis played the crazy physical comedian. Their duo ruled the radio, nightclubs, films, and TV from the late 1940s to the early 1950s. The public watched a smooth performance, but the collaboration was having problems behind the scenes because of artistic differences and different personalities. Many people thought Martin's career would suffer when they broke up in 1956. After breaking up with the partnership, Martin became a serious actor and solo performer. He shocked audiences who only knew him as a comedian when he gave a critically acclaimed dramatic performance in The Young Lions 1958 with Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift. This performance made Martin a real actor and gave him the chance to play a lot of different roles, from westerns like Rio Bravo 1959 to romantic comedies and dramas. His music career was also going well at the same time. Dean Martin was one of the most popular recording artists of his day. He had singles that lasted, like That's Amor, Everybody Loves Somebody, Memories Are Made of This, and Volare. He recorded Everybody Loves in 1964. Someone famously knocked the Beatles off the top of the Billboard charts. This was a moment that showed how timeless Martin's music was, even throughout the cultural turmoil of the 1960s, along with Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop. Martin was also a key member of the famous Rat Pack. The Rat Pack changed live entertainment in Las Vegas with acts that included music, comedy, improvisation, and a sense of stylish rebellion. Dean Martin's Rat Pack character, the always calm entertainer with a drink in hand, became famous. People often thought the charade was real intoxication, but it was mostly only for show. Martin knew how to employ image to disarm both audiences and other artists. The Dean Martin Show, which ran from 1965 until 1974, may have been the best place to show off Martin's range. The variety program showed off his skills as a singer, comedian, and host, and it also helped him keep up the image of being the guy who made everything seem easy. His laid-back assistance, self-deprecating jokes, and seeming spontaneity hit a sharp professional instinct and a deep appreciation for his work. The show became a TV classic and made him even more famous. Martin made a surprising and crowd-pleasing return to the big screen after years of carefully choosing his roles. He did this by appearing in two of the most over-the-top ensemble pictures of the early 1980s. He was in the Cannonball Run with a lot of other famous people. Critics didn't like it, but audiences loved it, and film became a huge hit at the box office. The movie's laid-back, anything-goes vibe was a wonderful fit for Martin's famed cool, which let him glide through his scenes with the seamless charm that had made him famous for decades. After the first movie did well at the box office, he came back for Cannonball Run 2. This time, he worked with a star-studded cast of Hollywood stars and showed viewers that even a short appearance on screen could still have star power. While all was going on, Martin quietly fell back in love with music and had a small but important hit with the soulful song "Since I Met You Baby." The song was a soft reminder of how versatile he was, showing that his silky, modest voice still worked in a time when pop music was more flashy. Martin embraced the changing world of entertainment and even tried a new medium by creating his first music video, which aired on MTV. The video showed that he was willing to change and stay relevant in an industry that changes quickly, which gave the project a really personal touch. Richie, his youngest son, directed it. This made the project not just a professional milestone but also a meaningful family project that showed Martin at a time in his life when he was thinking about the past and finding new ways to express himself. Dean Martin's personal life, like his famous work, was a dramatic and intensely human narrative of love, family, and grief that lasted for decades and defined the man beneath the easy charm. People knew Martin as the smooth-voiced cunner and fun-loving entertainment, but his marriages show a much more complicated and emotional aspect of his life. Martin was married 3 times, and each marriage represented a new chapter in his life. His first marriage was to Elizabeth and MacDonald. They got married on October 2, 1941, when he was still trying to get his career off the ground. They formed a family together and had 4 kids: Craig Martin, Claudia Martin, Gail Martin, and Dina Martin. These early years were full of ambition, hard work, and the stress of a growing career in entertainment. As Martin's fame grew, it got harder and harder for them to get along. After being married for 8 years, the pair finally split up and got a divorce in 1949. A few months later, in September of the same year, Dean Martin got married for the second time. This marriage lasted the longest, this time with Jean Martin. This marriage would be the most important and long-lasting relationship of his life. The pair had 3 kids together during the course of their 24 years of marriage: Dean Paul Martin, Richie Martin, and Gina Martin. During this time, Martin was at the top of his game, ruling over music, films, and TV. Jean, on the other hand, played a key role in keeping things stable at home. Their marriage lasted for more than 20 years, despite the stress of being famous, traveling all the time, and being watched by the public. The love lasted a long time, but it did end, and the pair got divorced on March 29, 1973. Martin married Catherine Hahn on April 25, 1973, later that same year. At this point, he was now a living legend, but he was still looking for happiness and friends. But the marriage didn't last long. Martin and Hahn divorced in February 1976, less than 3 years after they got married. This ended Martin's last marriage. Dean Martin was the epitome of easy charm for millions of people throughout the world. The smooth cunner with half-closed eyelids, a drowsy smile, and a drink always in reach. He didn't seem to care about anything, and he went through life as easily as he went through tunes like "Everybody Loves Somebody." But beneath the jokes, the music, and the concept of the Rat Pack was a much darker, more complicated guy whose personal problems were meticulously veiled behind a polished public image. Dean Martin tried hard to make it seem like nothing ever meant too much. He once quipped, "I don't worry, I just don't see the point." But the people who knew him well realized that this carefree way of thinking was more of a defense mechanism than the truth. Martin grew born poor in Steubenville, Ohio, as the son of Italian immigrants. The fear he felt as a child never totally went away. Fame brought him money and fans, but it also made his need to get away from anything that seemed like emotional conflict even stronger. One of the most prevalent falsehoods about Martin was that he drank too much. He played the loving drunk perfectly, on stage and on TV, slurring his words and holding a glass as if he could hardly stand. "People think I drink all the time," he once said. If they only knew what was really in the glass. Even if his cup often had tea or apple juice in it, alcohol was still a big part of his private life, and not necessarily in a good way. Drinking became a means to avoid dealing with sorrow, disappointment, or responsibility by keeping feelings at arm's length. His personal interactions showed this emotional remoteness more than anywhere else. Martin had 8 kids and was married 3 times. People often said that he was distant and hard to contact. Nevertheless, he loved his family, but it was hard for him to show them how much he cared. He said, "I'm not good at talking about my feelings." I never was. His job always came first. And the stress of being famous, along with his emotional distance, made it hard for him to connect with the people who were closest to him. The death of his son, Dean Paul Martin, in an aircraft disaster in May 1987 have been the worst thing that ever happened to Dean Martin. He was heartbroken by the loss. Friends saw a change right away that lasted. The fun went away, the shine faded, and the desire to do anything at all went away. You don't get over something like that, Martin replied in a low voice. You simply learn to deal with it. He never truly did. He withdrew even more, hardly ever going out in public and giving up the showman persona that had once defined him. His long connection with Frank Sinatra also showed another dark part of Martin's personality. He tended to run away from problems instead of facing them. Sinatra loved being in charge, fighting, and being intense, while Martin didn't like conflict. When the Rat Pack had problems, Martin typically preferred to stay quiet instead of trying to solve them. He answered, "I don't fight. I leave." That behavior made him emotionally isolated over time, so he was surrounded by people yet felt very alone. Dean Martin was tired of the image that made him famous near the end of his life. The funny, singing, and smiling performer had become a mask that he no longer had the stamina to wear. He once said, "People think I had it easy. They can only see what I want them to see." There was a man behind the scenes who didn't heal suffering, buried grief instead of sharing it, and paid a hefty price for being emotionally distant for the rest of his life. People will always remember Dean Martin as an icon, a voice, a face, and a symbol of a glamorous time. But the truth is much more personal and sad. His dark side wasn't being mean or getting into trouble. It was suffering in silence, grieving without saying a word, and always trying to let people really know him. Martin's last years were marked by a somber seriousness that was far different from the loud, confident person he had been on stage and television for decades. He had been a habitual smoker for most of his life. In September 1993, he was diagnosed with lung cancer at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. This news marked the start of the last chapter of his life. He was informed by doctors that surgery might help him live longer, but Martin said no to the procedure, staying true to the fiercely independent person he had always been in his personal and professional life. He made the choice because he was tired of being in the public eye for so long and had come to grips with his fate. In early 1995, Martin stepped back from public life as his health got worse. He left behind the acclaim, camera flashes, and sparkling nightlife that had once been his natural environment. His followers, who had grown up with his music, movies, and legendary presence in entertainment history, really missed him. He used to be the definition of cool and carefree, but now he lived quietly, surrounded by memories of a career that had a lasting impact on popular culture. Martin died at his home in Beverly Hills on Christmas Day 1995, when he was 78 years old. The cause was sudden respiratory failure caused by emphysema, which was a painful result of the habits that had followed him throughout his life. The news of his death spread well beyond Hollywood. The lights on the Las Vegas Strip were turned off in an unusual and moving tribute to him, a symbolic effort to honor not just a performer, but a legend whose presence had always been a part of the city's identity and spirit. Martin was buried at the Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, where many other famous people from films and music are also buried. His tombstone has an epitaph that properly sums up both his legacy and the strong emotional connection he had with his fans. At some point, everyone loves someone. The first lyric of his most famous song. The heart of his lasting appeal is in those